Hello, beautiful being. This is Joshua Hathaway, and it's a gorgeous Tuesday afternoon. The autumn is sliding into place here in Santa Cruz, cool air and sunny days. And I just wanted to take a moment to share with you some of my thoughts on this phrase that I put in the caption here. If you don't have room for repair, you don't fucking have room for a relationship. Because as much as everybody wants to have a relationship that's just yummy all the time, that we don't have to process things, we don't have to deal with difficulties, that shit doesn't exist. Intimacy requires us to be incredibly close. Intimacy requires us to come together and to bring our passion and desire into the relationship fully, even when we know that it's going to cause discomfort for the other person. And so, even in the most loving, connected relationships, even in the most respectful, caring relationships, we have moments of, oh fuck. We have moments of, I just caused pain that I didn't anticipate, or I'm causing pain that I did anticipate as a principle to bring myself fully into this relationship. We step on each other's toes. If you walk close enough to somebody, you're bound to step on their toes eventually. So the question is, how do we repair? What is your process of repair? Most of us have been trained very badly when it comes to repairing connection, when it has been disrupted, when it's been strained, when it's been broken. Most of us have been trained to hunker down in our ego and just be right. Be right until the other person admits that they're wrong, and then there's an opening for connection. Some of us have been trained to just collapse in the presence of somebody else's discomfort. Oh, you're uncomfortable, therefore I must have done something wrong. I'm so sorry. I won't do it again. Just giving away our power. So one side of the paradigm is a side that just isolates and is caught in its own sort of autistic, sort of self-referent reality about being right and withholding and avoidant. The other side is a paradigm where we collapse, where we're codependent, where our sense of comfort and safety depends on somebody else feeling okay about us. And real relationship, real intimacy, real fucking human beings who want to connect and synergize and support each other and experiencing exquisite sort of love and care, that requires something in between, the middle way, as the Buddha would say. And so, what's the middle way? How do we repair when we have been in disconnection? How do we repair connection when we recognize that our connection has been strained? Oh shit. This whole time I have not had my headphones in. I hope you hear me better now. So, how do we repair connection when our connection has been strained? Man, there are so many layers to this question, but it's so fucking important to be able to practice. Because guess what? You were never good at anything the first time you tried it. You might have been better than most people the first time they tried it, but you don't get masterful at anything without being bad at it for a little while. So the first bad news is that if you already suck at repair processes, just be willing to suck for a little while longer while you try something new. Because I guarantee if you keep doing the same thing you've been doing, it's not going to go well. The second thing is, what do you really want for this relationship? What do you really want? There's two layers of that. There's you as your own being, how you want to be showing up as a sovereign being in this relationship, the values that you're bringing to the relationship. And then there's how you want the relationship as an entity to be. And if you're not clear on that, please, please take some time to get clear on, number one, who you want to be in this relationship, how you want to feel, and how you want to show up and what your values are. And number two, how you want this relationship to look, the kinds of things that you want to be experiencing in the relationship that you desire and long for. Because we are so fucking programmed to just accept the default mode of a given relationship if it's gone on for long enough. And you don't have to do that. It's never too late to redesign a relationship in your own mind, to take time to say, what do I really want here? And then express that to the other person. Oh my gosh, like this is what I really want for our relationship. And it's not that way yet. Are you willing to be an ally to me in making it that way? Now, the second part of this process, after getting really clear about your vision for what kind of relationship you want, is to acknowledge the ways that you yourself have been showing up that have not been in alignment with the most beautiful vision of this relationship that you can have. Right? And our vision for relationships gets to evolve. It gets to become new. It gets to actually grow. And it gets to refine itself, right? As we grow through a relationship, we can have a more refined vision of what it is that we actually want there. And as our vision grows, as our capacity to envision a fucking amazing relationship gets more exquisite, well, so do our standards. So do our standards of the behavior that we're willing to sort of feel good about. And also, so do the standards of behavior that we're willing to tolerate from another person. And so, once you are clear on the vision, then you have to ask yourself the hardest question of all, honestly, which is, how have I not shown up in alignment with my own values and vision? When you get clear, because you know what? The easiest thing in the world for anybody in a relationship to know is how the other person is not showing up the way you want them to. Every fucking person knows that and can just recite their litany at any given moment. What requires so much more awareness, so much more courage, and so much more attention upon yourself is, how have I not been showing up in alignment with my vision for the relationship that I want? That is fucking sovereignty. That is ownership. And that is your 100% of the relationship. And so when you get clear on that, when you get clear on the ways you haven't been showing up, and you can acknowledge some of those ways to this person, then you begin to be ready to have a repair conversation with that person. Oh, wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. That's right. You begin to be ready to have a repair conversation with this person. And odds are, if you're human, that this person has been showing up in a way that may not actually have been meeting your needs as well. And I think it's really important to get clear and concrete about the ways that they've been showing up that are not in alignment with what you really want for this relationship. And get clear on the impact that that behavior is having on you. Because that's a really important thing to express. That's really important information to give this person who you care about and want to be close to. I don't care if it's your fucking boss, if it's your intimate partner, your friend, your sister, your mom. Any relationship in your life can be exquisitely reimagined, can be an opportunity to take stock of your own integrity around your values, can be an opportunity to express radically what isn't working for you, and can be an incredible opportunity for the spiritual growth that comes with radical honesty and a willingness to be present with all the discomfort that arises in that process. And I was just, I've been listening to Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, which is just an amazing book. And I love so much of what he says. And I also struggle with some of what he says, because Michael Singer is an ascender. He's like, just fucking let it go. Just be cool with whatever's happening and you're going to be a happy person. And that's an essential thing to cultivate in our lives. The capacity to let go and surrender control of what we literally, truly, honestly have no control over. To accept what is as it is. That's such an important process, but it's easy to misinterpret Michael Singer to say, you know what? Just suck it up and be okay with the way that other people are showing up in your life. Just accept them as they are. That's enough. Just get behind the reaction and be in your heart. Those are all really actually fundamentally important spiritual practices, but it's not enough. We did not incarnate into this world to be a fucking like egoless thing. We incarnated in this world to marry ego and spirit. Guess what? We incarnated into this world to be able to be a real being with needs and desires, and to be able to relax into an experience of unity. To not get so caught up in the minutia and the details and get so attached to the outcomes that we become a complete asshole in the way that we go about getting our needs met. This is the marriage. We need to bring ease to these conversations. We need to bring acceptance for ourselves and the other person. And we also need to bring some integrity and some desire and clarity about what it is that we want in the relationship and how we think it can be better. This is a fine line to walk. And most people fall on one or the other side of this. There's the love and lighters who is just all fucking love and light. It's cool. Like, bless you, whatever. And they're just like stuffing their resentment and anger and all that. And then there are the people who are all reaction. They're all fucking ego. They're all just like trying to manipulate the world to get what they want. I can recognize both of those currents in myself. So I'm not talking about anybody but this guy right here when I say this stuff. But I say all this to preface that it's important to be able to bring ease to this conversation, to find acceptance for whatever is arising here, to embrace it as an opportunity for your own growth, and to not deny what you actually fucking want. Because denying what you want is a beautiful path to repressed emotions and psychosomatic expressions that are just not pretty or fun for anybody. So, where are we at in this process? Step 1, you got really clear on what you really want for this relationship. Step 2, you got really clear on the ways that you have not been showing up in this relationship in alignment with your values and what you really want in your life and in this relationship. And you cultivate a willingness to acknowledge that. Step 3, you get to think about and get clear on some concrete examples of ways that this other person hasn't shown up in the way that is in alignment with what you really want in this relationship. Guess what step 4 is? Yeah, you reach out to that person and you express your desire to have a connection with them. You express your desire to have a meaningful conversation with them. Like, are you willing to spend 20 to 30 minutes having a conversation with me about how we can have the most amazing relationship that we can both imagine? Right? And you share your vision. If they say yes, like, oh, fuck yes. Schedule that shit. Have time. Create space for that conversation. Not while you're doing 7 other things. Like, give that person your attention. No matter who they are. There is no more valuable use of your time than deeply, authentically connecting with another sovereign soul on this planet. And you get to hold the container. You asked for this conversation, so you hold the fucking container. And you get to say, thank you so much for being willing to have this conversation with me. I want to share with you my vision of the most amazing relationship I can imagine us having. Are you open to that? Sweet. So here's what it looks like. Like, here's how I want to feel. Here's how I want to show up. Here's what I want to see happening. Here's how I want to see you responding. Like this is my vision of an amazing relationship for us. Do you have anything to add to that? Is there anything that doesn't fit for you in terms of your vision? Cool. So we're on the same page about what we want. So I have to acknowledge to you that there are ways that I see that I've been showing up that are not in alignment with that vision. Now, little parentheses moment here. This is the moment where you show up fucking vulnerably, where you name your own fears and your own shadows and your own challenges and the things that you recognize have not been in the fullest alignment with your values. And as scary as that is, this is the moment of power. This is the most powerful moment in the interaction. Because when you sort of grab your rib cage by the fucking xiphisternal notch and you peel it open and you show this person your fucking heart and your vulnerability and your humanity, you have taken the ultimate kind of power in this relationship. It's not power over the other person. You have no power over their response. You have no power to control the way that they react to you. But you have taken power by acknowledging your sovereignty and becoming in complete alignment with yourself. And when that happens, when you do that, it is one of the most compelling things that a human being can ever fucking do in this world. It is one of the most beautiful things that a human can do in this world. And it's so rare in our world of identity, in our world of image, in our world of fucking social media, sort of perfect pictures bullshit. It's so rare in our world of just desperately trying to protect ourselves from the pain that comes from being hurt. But we are ready. We're more ready than I've ever seen this us be ready for, to have this kind of relationship. And so we rip open our rib cage. We acknowledge the ways that we have not been showing up in a way that is in alignment with our deepest values and our longings and desires. And we ask for forgiveness. Would you be willing to forgive me? Would you be willing to accept me as I am? Would you be willing to let go of whatever resentment and whatever pain this has caused you in order to have a new slate and a clean relationship? It's a powerful moment. It's a humble fucking moment. And you don't get to decide what their willingness level is. You don't get to decide their capacity for forgiveness. You only get to decide your willingness to put yourself out there. But if your experience is anything like mine, you're going to find somebody who is surprised, who might be in tears, who might have been waiting for this moment of acknowledgement for years or months or days or weeks. You might find somebody who's really ripe to forgive you. And when you've cleaned that slate and when you've taken the time to really acknowledge that, to really fucking heartfully show up in your humility, you have just opened the road to that person hearing about the pain in your heart. You've just opened the road to that person really being able to hear you when you say, can I tell you about some of the things that I've seen you do that have been painful for me or that haven't been in alignment with my vision of this relationship? Or you can just openly invite them. I'm curious if there's anything that you want to share that you can acknowledge hasn't been in alignment with the most beautiful relationship you can imagine between us, because I feel so connected to you right now and I feel so open to hearing. When you invite that, you can just open-endedly invite it, or you can very pointedly acknowledge some of those things. It's really up to you. You know those relationships better than anyone. It's much more vulnerable to actually say what doesn't work for you, but you might start at least with an open invitation. And you may be utterly shocked in the most wondrous way by what comes forth from this person, by what they're capable of acknowledging in the presence of your vulnerability, in the sheer witness of your cracked open heart. And, you know, there's no telling where it goes from there, friends. Because you've entered into the space of what I call emergent relating. You have ended the cycle of trying to control what's going on in this relationship and finally just stepped into the fucking mystery of what happens when you open your heart and you share your most vulnerable truth and you listen deeply to the other person as they share theirs. And that, my friends, is what is required of us if we're willing to be in deep and intimate relationship with anybody on this planet. And I'm personally not interested in anything but deep and intimate relationships. And relationships that get to stay clean because I can express what doesn't work for me, I can ask for what I want, and I can show up when I know that I have shown up in a way that hasn't been in alignment with my values, or I can see that the impact of my best intentions has been different than what I wanted. I can hear that. And I don't have to be busy defending myself from that. There's a way that it's so easy to get caught up in defending ourselves from being responsible for somebody's experience that prevents us from just being responsible to the experience that is showing up right in front of us. How can you be responsible to this relationship right now? Not responsible for it in some fucking heavy-handed, like it's all your fault or blame or like we have to divorce the notion of taking responsibility from the notion of blame or fault. It's nobody's blame. Nobody's to blame. It's nobody's fault. It's not an imperfection. It is the perfect unfolding of your relationship if you're willing to embrace it as it is. So how do you do it? Well, there's tools and practices, and I've named a few of them here, offhanded. But if you have a relationship that you want to repair, like, please reach out to me. Like, this is what I do. These are the tools that I provide. This is the support that I give so joyfully. This is my fucking wheelhouse. And it's what I love doing. So please, I just want to support you in having the most exquisite relationships you can imagine. And it turns out that getting humble and getting vulnerable and getting real with people is the key that opens the lock to the kind of relationships that like we hardly let ourselves imagine because we're so fucking stuck in the way things are sometimes. And you have to ask yourself if you're willing to forgive that person. You have to ask yourself before you enter into this conversation if you're willing to fucking clean the slate, forgive them for what they've done. It doesn't mean you trust them. It doesn't mean you even want to spend more time with them. It doesn't mean that you're going to expose yourself vulnerably to their behavior in any other way. What it means is you're willing to accept that they couldn't have done anything different in the past. That you can let them into your heart, even if you don't let them into your life. Because we're all just doing the best we fucking can every day with the resources that we have to meet our needs. And some days those resources are greater than others, depending on what we had for breakfast, how good a night's sleep we had, how much trauma we live with, whether we've been the victims of some kind of horrific trauma in our lives, and how, by whatever grace, much we've been able to deal with that trauma effectively and lovingly with support, right? So don't mistake forgiveness for saying it's okay that you did what you did. Don't mistake forgiveness for some sort of ticket into your life. It's not what it is. Forgiveness is the only way I've ever found to release the fucking burden of resentment, to release the poison that sits inside our own hearts for all that we can't control about another person. So I wish you the greatest grace. I wish you such incredible courage. And I wish you the willingness to reach out for support on the journey to having all of your relationships be the most exquisite relationships you can imagine. And I'm so grateful for all of you for listening in and for your comments. I'm really bad at responding to people's comments as I do this, as I channel this. So thank you for your patience. I love you, and I really look forward to having an opportunity to support you if that is something that you long for as well.